So I've been fired from every single job since I was 14 years old. And why is that important? Because it made me the person who I am today. I'm an entrepreneur. I don't like authority. I don't like somebody else designing my life. I don't like having a paycheck and living paycheck to paycheck and waiting for somebody else to give me a raise or promotion. I want to give myself promotions. I want to give myself raises. I want to craft my own destiny. I want to craft my own processes. I want to do everything. I want to take control of my life. I've been fired from every single job since I was 14 years old. And one of the first stories when I got fired was I was living in Toronto, Canada, and I was a paper boy. And I had this route to deliver newspapers. So this is back in the day when we didn't have social media and a lot of digital stuff we have now. So back in the day, people used to read the newspaper. It was very common. Now nobody reads the newspaper. It's a dead and dying industry. But I had this route where I was supposed to deliver the newspaper to a mile radius. And one day, like about I think 3-4 months into the job, I got this couple of boxes of Dorito samples. There's like maybe 3 big cartons of Dorito samples that I was supposed to hand deliver. And basically inside the carton, there were maybe about 100 samples on each box of these little Dorito samples of a new flavor that came out, but it wasn't in stores yet. So basically what happened was they wanted me to deliver, and then they were going to send these little questionnaires to all the houses to see what they thought about the new flavor before they do like a full-on distribution to the retail stores, before it was available in the retail stores. What I did was I got the boxes and opened it up, and I took out 1-2 little chip bags and I started tasting them, and it tastes pretty good. Then I just had this bright idea. I'm like, you know what? Let me see if I can sell these. It just popped into my head. I don't even know why. I'm like, nobody in the store has it. I can maybe make some money off of it. So what I did was I went to a nearby intersection by my school, which was a very busy intersection. There was a lot of traffic coming in. And I set up a little plastic table and a chair. And I put a little sign up for the Dorito samples. And I said $1 per bag. Over the next couple of days, I would get people coming in and out, crossing the street, seeing the sign, coming over to my table. And then I had a bunch of people buy the Dorito samples. And I had a bunch of people buy the Dorito sample, and I had a bunch of people. And so I set up a little table. I went outside my house and set up a little table. So this is one of the things that made me a multimillionaire, is because I've been fired from every single job since I was 14 years old. Let me explain. When I was 14 years old, one of my first jobs I ever had, and I was living in Toronto, Canada at the time, was being a paper boy. So back then, we didn't have social media and the digital stuff and YouTube like we do now. So everybody consumed news through reading a newspaper. The events around the city, around the nation, around the world was through the newspaper. So everybody would usually read the newspaper. One day, 3-4 months into the job, I got 3-4 cartons delivered to my house. Opened up the cartons, and there was a note inside saying, hey, there was a couple hundred samples of Dorito bags. It's a new flavor that's not been released into a market or any retail stores. You can't find them anywhere. If you want you to deliver it to all the houses on your route, so we can then send them a little survey asking them what they thought about the Dorito sample. I had delivered these Dorito samples to all these houses, and basically they were going to send a little survey to them. That was a way how they collected customer feedback back then. Like I said, they didn't have any type of really big digital marketing avenues compared to what we have now. I opened the box, and I saw all these couple hundred bags of Dorito samples across the 3 cartons. And I took 1 of the bags out, I tasted it. So I was like, oh, it tastes pretty good. And I was like, wow, if I like this, I'm sure other people will like it too. I don't know what went through my mind. I was like, I can make money off of this. Just the entrepreneurial mindset. So I took the 3 cartons, and across about the next 1 to 2 weeks, I set up a stand by the school I used to go to, and I put a little table, a plastic table, and a chair, and a sign that says $1 for these new Dorito samples. And people will walk by, foot traffic every single day for a whole week. I ended up selling out all the Dorito samples in a matter of a week to a week and a half. I made probably like a couple $100. I made a couple $100, maybe $300 to $400. And sold out everything. And I took the money and I went to, bought some video games and a bunch of other stuff, some PC components, things like that too. So it's very interesting. But then all the houses got surveys asking them what they thought about the Dorito samples. And what happened was some people don't respond to the surveys, some people do. They basically got tons of feedback that they didn't receive any Dorito samples. So I ended up getting fired as a result of that. And that was the first job I got fired from. Now, some of you are thinking, oh my God, why would he do that? Other people are like, oh, this is cool. But I want you to think about the type of mindset entrepreneurs have. They look for opportunities. They're opportunists. They look for unique things, unique places where they can make money or monetize things. Now, you can say, oh, this guy got fired, but like at the end of the day, they pay me whatever, a couple bucks per hour back then, minimum wage, below minimum wage. And after taxes, it's not that much money. So being fired is actually not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing because it teaches you that you don't have to comply with a system. These systems that are designed to keep you down and push you down. So entrepreneurs always think outside the box. They're anti-system, anti-school, anti-this. They like to create their own paths. And that's just what's running through my brain. I just didn't like authority. I didn't like people telling me what to do. I didn't want somebody else to dictate the type of income I wanted to make. I didn't want somebody to tell me what time I can come in, what time I can leave. I hated all these. I hated rules, like anti-authority. And that's just the way I've been. Like I'm 30 years later, I had the same mindset when I was 14. But when at the age of 14, I don't know what an entrepreneur was. I had no idea. My mom and dad were entrepreneurs. I didn't know what to think, what to do. But I had these creative thoughts that back then, if I get fired, it's frowned down upon. But now, it's if you get fired or you start a business, you make a bunch of money, people support you because they realize how horrible the corporate system is and how big of a scam the school system is and how people work 8 to 5 for 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years just to what? For a little bit of raise and a depreciating 401k plan. It's complete bullshit. And once you start to realize that everything around you are just a bunch of systems designed by human beings, and they're there to keep you in a specific position of poverty financially and on your mindset too. They're like, oh, you're supposed to get a job, supposed to go to school, supposed to do this. And that's what keeps a lot of people down financially. They live paycheck to paycheck, living a life of desperation. And it's a horrible way to live. Since then, I've had a bunch of jobs at Super Kmart I worked at Kohl's. I've had big corporate jobs, working for big firms, and I've gone far from every single one of those too. I've been fired from every single job. It's not one job I quit because I overperformed. Every job I was not lazy. My work ethic was phenomenal, talented, and the work ethic was top notch. I just didn't like authority. I didn't like somebody else designing the income and my schedule. I just couldn't stand that. I'm self-disciplined enough where I can design my own income and my own schedule. I had a bunch of corporate jobs and I got fired from those as well too. And then it just, whenever you go through these things, it teaches you that, hey, you're not cut out for this system, this 8 to 5 race. A lot of people, a lot of very successful people, like the biggest entrepreneurs in the world, have been fired or dropped out of school. It's a very common theme. It just, the earlier you realize it, the better it is, because then you spend less time wasting building somebody else's company and somebody else's business than starting your own business. So that mindset is what made me successful. That's what I'm trying to get to you guys. It's like the beginning of the video. That's why that mindset I had at an early age allowed me to become the multimillionaire I am today, because I had that mindset and I kept on doing things that are contradictory to what society is teaching you, what the school system is teaching you. I would argue that if you haven't been fired from a job, that you need to go get fired from a job. I would argue that if you don't challenge authority and the status quo, that you're not going to be successful. That's just the mindset I have. I have a bulletproof mindset, and I'm very anti-establishment, anti-system. So if you think that following the rules is going to get you far in life, you are sadly mistaken. Whether it's a school system or getting a job, it's one thing after another, one system after another, designed to keep you in poverty. And if you're happy being poor, then that's up to you. I was not happy poor because I grew up poor. I know what poverty feels like. It's not a good, fun place when you're living paycheck to paycheck and barely pay the rent, barely afford meals, barely able to travel, barely able to do things with your friend. Most importantly, barely able to have that time freedom to do what you want. You need to have a mindset of, hey, I need to design my own path. I need to be the architect of my own life. I need to figure out this whole world of business and this whole world of arbitrage. I need to figure out sales. I need to think outside the box. You got to have this divergent thinking to allow you to escape this rat race. Otherwise, I promise you, you're going to live a very sad and miserable and depressing life. And me personally, and the people around me in my circle, I push them to be entrepreneurs because it's the only way out of this so-called matrix. The only way out is you have to design your own path, and you have to design and construct your own processes to get to where you want to go. Otherwise, if you don't, you become part of somebody else's plan. If you don't have your own plan, you'll become part of somebody else's plan. If you're okay with that, then more power to you, but I was not okay with that. If you want to make the 7, 8, 9 figures, those type of numbers, you have to escape this poverty mindset of following systems and rules. And that's what I want to convey to you guys. Stop following systems, stop following the rules, and I promise you, you can also make your next million.